Hello, been some time since the last video. I've been doing bits on the car, but back in May, June, it's now start of September, back in May, June, one of my parents passed away, and so there's just lots of things to sort out family wise. So I've been working on the car a little bit. I haven't really felt like kind of videoing stuff, so some of this video was recorded back in May, June time. Some of it I'll give an update on where things are at. There's a bit of a bit of a lack of continuity in places because I didn't record some bits, but basically I think the last video replaced one of the rear shock absorbers, fitted the rear heater under the seat, and I'm not sure if I was fiddling around with a cold start. I haven't done a lot on the heater. The front heater I'll show you in a minute. That's in pieces now. I've done the rear one, as I say. I'm taking the front one apart now and painting that, and I finished the boot. I think I was well, you'll see actually in this video there's some I was making new panels and things like that. That's all fitted, and the boot is pretty much finished. So yeah, sorry haven't been many videos. It's just stuff got in the way, life got in the way of things, and I didn't really feel like videoing too much anyway. So I want to get back into it though. So as I say, it's start of September now. It'll be cold before long, but just get wrapped up and get back into the garage. Actually, the weather's really, today it's like 26 degrees, so it's really nice today. The last few days of summer, I think. So anyway, let's get on with it. So I'll show you where we're at with things. So it's time to refit the rear heater. You'll have seen on previous videos, took this out, reconditioned it all. I am now about to refit the rear heater. So in case you're not aware, this is under the rear seat. The P5 from, I think, the Mark II, or it might have been the Mark III, had a separate heater for rear seat passengers with air coming out under the rear seat. Mine had never worked. The fan motor had never worked. The water wasn't leaking, so there's two pipes coming from the engine under the car to a separate matrix here, and a separate fan motor. The fan motor had never worked, so it's not exactly a necessity, but I just wanted to get mine working. I'm kind of glad I did, because actually the tray had this is the rear heater tray. This is actually rusted out on mine, being under the rear seat. That hole is where the motor pokes through. It's just a collection point for water. So the bottom of the tray had rusted out. The resistor had basically rusted away and was flapping around. It was just in a real mess. So I'm glad it hasn't actually rusted the floor, but the heater tray itself had rusted out. So this is a reconditioned one I got and resprayed. That's all on the previous video. So I'm going to refit it. So what I have done, if you can see, it's a bit of an odd angle, I know, but this is the motor sticking through the bottom, all reconditioned. I've made a foam, closed cell foam gasket that goes around there, so that will sit against the floor. I've also got these two foam gaskets I've just cut from closed cell foam for the heater matrix pipes, so we'll get to that in a minute. You'll also see I fitted a new resistor, because as I say, the previous resistor had actually rusted away. So I've got a new 2.5 ohm from memory, 2.5 ohm resistor. So that drops the voltage to the fan motor. There's a switch in the rear compartment. You can have off, low or high fan speed. So on low fan speed, this is just dropping the voltage. to about 5 volts, I think, something like that, 2.5 ohms. So it'll run quite slowly. The air comes out. There's a pipe here, hose here, going to the near side left-hand passenger footwell, and then the other one just comes out here, and there's a grill that goes on there. As you can see, I've removed a lot of the trim. I'm going to recondition the trim while I've got this in pieces. But anyway, onto the heater tray. So these are where the 2 matrix pipes go through the floor to the hoses, and this tray just bolts down in 2 positions. Yeah, it's 2 positions just there and there. What I think I will do is I'm going to make some thin little foam gaskets there for the matrix to fit on, just to really make sure that's sealed well. This is pretty well sealed as well. So once I get this bolted down, we'll move on to that. I've got 2 bolts here. I've put copper slip on. Right, so I've got that bolted down, 2 bolts. It's pretty sturdy. The foam washers are sandwiched between the floor and the heater unit there, and there's one around the motor, which hopefully will keep the water out. This is the rear matrix, heater matrix. So these 2 pipes poke through the floor, and then the 2 hoses run under the floor to the engine. This is a reconditioned one from JL Wadhams. So what I've just made up is a foam strip. From looking at photos, when I took this out, there is a foam strip that runs along the top and the bottom. It's pretty disintegrated on mine, but I think that is to stop, because this doesn't sit flush with the bottom of that. It's to stop air going around. I think it's to, it's to force the airflow through the matrix to warm the air up. So I thought I'd just make another of those. There were also 2 little padded pieces just going against the corners of this. I'm not sure if that's just to stop it rattling, but I'm going to put those in as well. So that should. The only thing holding this down is the lid. So it's okay. And then I can go in there. I'm not sure if they're to stop it rattling or to again stop the airflow going around. Seems a bit overkill, but I thought I'd put them in because they were there originally. So that should then be held down by the lid. Just looking at that, it seems to be sitting a bit proud. Maybe. Okay, that's all right. So and then the lid will screw on top. Just grab that. So there's the lid that will screw on top and hold everything in place, in theory. So that's just a little bit of progress. Actually thinking that washer may be too thick on the bottom. I think that's too. I think this is too thick. I might make that from thinner material, or So I'm going to revert back to what I had before. So I had these thinner washers that I'd made, and then just a strip, because I think that will allow it to sit. That will allow it to sit more flush with the floor. So let's get that in. Okay, so that's in. The lid is screwed down. It's a bit of a struggle, because actually what you don't want to do is tighten these bolts until you've got the lid on, because on mine this was pulling the sides out, so I couldn't get the lid on very easily. But the lid is on. I think there's 7 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, there's 7 screws that just go through the sheet metal to hold the lid on. So that is now bolted down, or the lid is on. Not to be opened for another 50 years, hopefully. We'll see. Okay, so we have 2 wires to the resistor, and we have the 2 wires to the motor that come from here outside and then up through the floor. So they're just running in sleeving. They need terminating with bullet connectors, and then they will attach. I've got to put the earth back in, and then they'll attach to these, so I'll probably replace these. I'll see what condition they're in, the bullet connectors. So that is looking a lot better than it was. Well, this is what, a couple of months ago. Took longer because I had to get a replacement one, because the bottom had rusted out on the original. But yeah, that should last another 50 years at least. So next thing to do will be to start getting under the car and connecting the pipes. So just to show you what this looks like under the car, so these are the 2 pipes from the heater matrix, so 90-degree elbows, and then hoses will be attached to that and that. There's the motor. This is the, sorry about the shaky camera, but this is the cable from the motor that goes up through the floor. Doesn't seem to be clipped anywhere. It wasn't on the original. I don't know. This is the handbrake rod here. Looks like it should be clipped up, really. It's not good having that hanging down. So I may, if I can't see a clip, then I could put something off that nut. Oh no, I'll see anyway. I'll probably want to clip this cable up out of the way. You can see how the motor hangs down underneath the car. It's slightly odd arrangement. What I will do, this is already covered in shuts, but I may give it another spray just to seal around it. It seemed to be the way Rover did it. They just sprayed everything in this thick tar. I know that's not always the best because it can trap water. It's a bit of a, what, I don't know. I mean, maybe the foam will be enough. I'll see. I don't want to spray everything in tar because the car's had enough of that in its lifetime, I think. So anyway, so those are the pipes. So you can see maybe in the background the fuel pipes from the fuel tank. So I'm going to start running those as well. I'll just show you those in the boot. Okay, so here's the boot. What I have done is, you can see these 2 new pipes. I've run pipes to the fuel pickup. They I've clipped them up here. The original ones were just loose. I've clipped them at the top, then they come down and go through 2 grommets. So those grommets were missing originally, so I've replaced those. This is the breather that needs clipping under the car as well. So yeah, those are in. I've tidied up the boot a bit as well. I'm going to make a new board. The hard board for this, the panel that goes across here to hide the fuel tank was quite distorted. It's just hardboard and it's got damp and sag, so I'm going to take the cover off and make a new one of those. So I might cover that in a bit. Not a difficult job. I've got to fit new. I've ordered a new boot carpet actually, because the original mat the rubber mat was split and it got all sorts of stuff and damage over the years. So I've ordered a new boot carpet for the floor, and I've got to put in the panels. I've also, which maybe you can just about see, I fitted a new seal around the boot. So the original one was really dried out and cracked. So this is a brand new one. Not too difficult a job. I tidied up some of the drainage channel as well and just treated some rust just around here. But yeah, not a difficult job to do. The hardest bit actually was getting it on here. Sorry, there you go. Getting it along the bottom. And the only way I could do that was actually to put silicone on and then slide it in that way, because it's got this lip over the top, so it I just couldn't get the seal in. But that looks a lot better than the previous one, which had dried and was really cracked and hard. So the boot's looking better. Like all of these things, jobs escalate. This started off just doing the fuel pipes and the rear heater, but it's kind of escalated into tidying up the whole boot. It needed doing anyway, so I may as well do it while I'm here. I think that's about it. So I'm gonna next I'll probably be under the car routing the fuel pipes and start to route the pipes for the heater. Still, I need to get a reconditioned front heater box because mine was damaged when I took it off. It's been bodged around, so I need to get a reconditioned one of those. So the front heater has escalated into a bit of a saga as well, but we are making progress slowly. So summer's finally arrived. I think it's 27th of May now. And the sun has come out and it's warming up finally. One of the things I was going to do was, as I'm doing stuff in the boot, was tidy up the boot trim. This is the back panel that covers the fuel tank. This is the original card, just hardboard. You can see it's very bent and it's torn in places as well. So I've just made up a new card. I've actually used 4mm plywood. Just had that there, so I thought I'd use that. So I've just traced the original shape and cut that out, and now I'm just gluing on the hardura, or whatever it's called, which is really thick vinyl. So this is the original. I've just cleaned it up. It's not in terrible condition. I think I'm going to use it. One of the side panels, I have ordered a new one because that's in a really bad state. The one that covers the jack, it hasn't arrived yet, but I'll show you that when it comes. So anyway, so I'm just sticking this down. So I'm going to put a bit of glue on this. It was only stapled around. If you look, you can just see the staple holes. So originally it was just stapled. I am going to actually put a bit of glue just to stop it sagging on the front, and then I'll wrap it around and staple this vinyl. If you look at how it's made, it's wraps this Hardura, which is kind of very thick vinyl with horsehair padding in between. But then this is just a vinyl thing that's been sewn on around the edge, and that wraps around the edge. So I'm just going to stick this down and then staple around the back, and that should be it. It'll help tidy up the boot a bit, and I'll do the other panels then as well. This is the panel from the left hand side of the boot. This is the Hardura cover. It's, you can see it's kind of vinyl both sides, quite thick vinyl with horsehair or hessian or whatever it is, padding, sound deadening in between. You can see where it's torn there. So this is not in great condition. You can see it's torn at the top. And it's dirty, but that's not a problem. But then there's various tears inside as well. So I am going to replace that. This tool board as well. So if you can see down at the bottom, water's got to the plywood, and it's basically just coming apart. So I was going to just make a new backing, but then actually, because I want to replace the front, the Hardura as well, I thought I may as well order one. So that's what I've done. So this is the original, and I'll need a lot of these fittings off here, but then I have ordered a replacement from J.R. Wadhams. So this comes with various bits. So again, it's plywood. It's slightly thinner than original, but that's fine. I've just put some varnish on this roughly just to help waterproof it. That goes along there, and the trim panel folds over that. This is the new Hardura trim panel. You can see this is only vinyl on one side. It's very thick vinyl, but it's not vinyl on the inside, so I guess slightly less waterproof, but you know, I'm not going to really have the car out in the water that much. But it's really nicely edged. If you can see, it's much nicer than the factory edging. The vinyl stitching around the edge, and the corners are really nicely made. And then you've got this vinyl piece here which wraps around that metal. So really nicely made. The stitching is very, very nice on this. So I'm going to transfer some of the fittings off the old one onto this, and then start to put that together. As I say, this is the left hand side. The right hand side I'm going to reuse the original completely. It's not that badly damaged, and you've seen the front of the boot panel, and then I've bought a carpet from Wadhams as well for the bottom, because the original rubber trim was pretty damaged. So I'm just going to get on with this. Some of the fittings are a little bit rusty. I may de-rust them, but we'll see how we go. Okay, so a bit of a continuity problem, but this is the finished boot. Well, it's almost finished. Those screws there are to screw this back panel into position. I haven't done that yet because when I finish running the new fuel pipes, I want to check there's no leaks behind here. So this just screws into 3 tabs along the top. That will screw there. So I also bought a carpet for the boot from Wadhams. Originally P5s and P5Bs have a rubber mat, but it was pretty horrible condition. It wouldn't clean up, and it was torn, so I just thought buy a carpet.
Certainly looks a lot nicer and neater. The vinyl I've just cleaned, so this is original. The wheel arch covers are original. This is new. This is one of the new pieces of vinyl that I bought. You can see I've also fitted a socket just up there for trickle charging the battery. I just thought it was easier than getting into here all the time to charge the battery. So I when it's in the garage, I leave it trickle charging. And then over on this side is where you've just seen I was making the cover. So this is the new cover that we saw, and there's the tools which I cleaned up and refinished. So those are the tools that are in place, the jack and the wheel brace. I think P5s had a foot pump or a stirrup pump as well, but I don't think the P5Bs had that. So it all looks a lot nicer in here now. As I say, some of this is original. This is original as well. I just made a new board, plywood back board for this, because the hardboard backing had warped, and so I peeled off the original vinyl and cleaned it all, and I actually sprayed the vinyl, which we'll see how well that works. It cleaned up okay, but I thought I'd try spraying it. So actually it came up really well then, and kind of matches the newer vinyl, which is slightly shinier. So that is the boot pretty much finished, apart from those 3 screws to put in place. Don't think there's anything else to say on there, so you're up to speed on the boot. So then the garage is a bit of a state because I'm also building a pond in the front garden. So you've seen in here the heater that's ready to connect. I haven't run the pipes, that's still to do, so I'll get on with that. And I'm going to replace some of the what's it called, the moquette on the hardboard panels under the seat. But the heaters, you saw that in the previous video, I think, or no, earlier in this video. It was a few months ago that I finished and fitted that. So that's pretty much where we're at. I'll just show you the where we're at with the front heater. So now I'll update you on the sad tale of the front heater. This is half of the original heater from the front that was quite rusty inside, so I wanted to de-rust it. So I put it in a bath of de-ruster. And I don't know if you remember, I tried vinegar. That didn't work very well. However, it didn't work very well on the rust. What it did work very well on is parts of the heater itself. So you might have seen in previous videos there's quite a complex arrangements of rods and levers on the sides of these heaters. And a lot of these work, they have a, let's see if I can show you one on the other half. Yeah, there you go. So quite a few of these rods that go through that control different flaps in the heater have a lever on the outside that has rods going between them. These are made of a very soft aluminium or zinc or some sort of alloy, and vinegar dissolves these really effectively. So what actually happened was, this one actually I dropped the unit as well, and this cracked. However, it's also been eaten away by the de-ruster, the vinegar. That's the good side. This side believe it or not. So there's one of the levers that has been eaten away almost to nothing. There was one here as well that's been eaten away to nothing. So basically I've screwed up massively on doing this. You need to be really careful if you dip these in the rust remover that you get something that's not going to corrode aluminium or zinc or whatever these things are made of. These also, I think they're either, after the heater's kind of put together and these rods are pushed through the matrix, these are either pushed on or, well, I assume they're pushed on, and it's just freaking, so there's no way of taking these off. I mean, you could probably pull them off, but then there's no way of getting replacements for them. I've thought about all sorts of different ways of trying to make a replacement. There's just not going to be anything that's going to work well that I can come up with. Yeah, I think they need to be, they're soft metal, and I don't know if these shafts are splined or something at the end, or knurled or something, so they grip, but you're just not going to be able to replace them. So this was the original heater unit that I screwed up quite massively. Also, this paint is really tough. I've actually had paint stripper on this, and it just won't move this paint in places, so that's a bit of a challenge. So on to heater number 2, courtesy of David Green. What I'm using now, not so as not to affect these, is Evaporust, which isn't cheap. It's about £35 for 5 litres, and I've got a bowl that I'm dipping these in. There's 10 litres of Evaporust that I'm dipping it in. This has been derusted. I've just washed it because I was stripping some of the paint off, so there's a little bit of surface rust come back today. That's just today, in the last few hours, but I've pretty much got as much paint and rust off this. I mean, it was quite rusty, so I've pretty much got everything off. So what I'm now going to do is put a rust converter on it, because there are lots of, if you see, it's welded together, so there are quite a few seams. It's parts of this are riveted as well, so you can't get to everywhere. This panel, you just can't get in here. So my plan is to put a rust converter on here and then spray it as well as I can. I don't know if these were dipped in paint in the factory, but I'm going to put a rust converter on, and I'm going to use Hydrate 80, which is something I've used previously. So this is what I've used previously on the car. In places in the engine bay I used it, and it seems to work really well. So my plan is to paint this with that and then spray it satin black. And I looked at getting these chemically dipped. I couldn't find anyone nearby that did chemical dipping. I mean, that would probably be the easiest if you had someone nearby. Yeah, I think that would be best, but I couldn't find a company to do that, and so I just thought, right, I'll do it myself. And a second time, after having ruined one heater unit, we are making some progress. So I'm going to get on with that. I'm going to paint this with rust converter and then spray it. The other half is in the tank. Needs to be there probably for another 24 hours or so, and yeah, this should then be ready to start assembling. So I'll show you some pictures of the disassembly. I took loads of pictures because these mechanisms on the side are really quite convoluted in the way they work, and some of the rods go from one half to, so this one I think goes from one half to the other, so you have to disconnect them. So I took loads of photos. I'll show you a few of those now, and in the next video we will try and make some progress on this and get the heater done, and then get the fuel pipes finished and the reserve tap, and that'll be it for a bit. Then I think then I don't know what's going to be next, but a few more videos time. You've seen previously as well for this, I've got a new heater valve, hot water valve, so I'm going to fit all that. Parts of this this is reconditioned, ready to go on, so we will get there. So I'll probably get on with this in the next video.